Okay, now let's look at number 2. Number 2 says, I received the assignment later in the afternoon. Okay, I'm going to erase a little of this. We have room. And we're going to look for our prepositional phrases. When you look at, I received the assignment later in the afternoon. Our prepositional phrase is later in the afternoon. Okay, what is your verb? We're going to look for our verb. I received the assignment later. Okay, so my verb is, what's the action? Received. So go ahead and put received on your diagram. Okay, there's our received, that's our verb. Who or what received? I. So I is the subject. So I received. Now, what kind of verb is received? It is an action verb, that's correct. I received, since it's action, I'm going this direction and I'm looking for what? The direct object. I received what? I received assignment. Assignment is my direct object. How do I diagram the direct object? Think back, we already have done this. We're gonna put our line out here, we're gonna draw a line straight up and down, and we're gonna write assignment. Okay? Now, the next word in our sentence is later. I received the assignment later. So what does later tell me? It tells me when I received, right? If it tells me when, I know that it's a ding, 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 it's a adverb. All right, so it tells me when I received, so it's going to be an adverb under the word received. So draw a diagonal line and write the word later. I received assignment later. Okay, now we do have the word the, and we know that the word the is always an adjective. And what does it? Adjectives come, single adjectives come right before the word they describe. So the describes the assignment. So I'm going to go over here and go ahead and write my adjective on its line. Let me remind you, adverbs and adjectives, or single adjectives and adverbs, are diagrammed the same way. There's no difference. It's a matter of where I place them. And I place them under the word they modify. Next, I have the phrase, in the afternoon. In the afternoon tells me what? It tells me to what extent later, or when later, okay? So it's gonna tell me about later, and it's what kind of a grouping of words? It's a prepositional phrase. I know that prepositional phrases, being used as an adverb, are called adverb phrases. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw my slanted line, which is going to be for my preposition and my object. I'm going to connect that to my adverb. In is my preposition. So I'm going to put it right there. I have afternoon is my object and my preposition. Okay? And the last word I have in my phrase is the word the. The is always an adjective describing the word that comes after, so, or the noun that comes after. So I have the. So I received the assignment later in the afternoon. Excuse me. Now, this diagram has every word in our sentence very neatly. Let's look at your book. Look at number 3. Mrs. Parker played the piano with grace and ease. What are your prepositional phrases, if you have any? Do you have a prepositional phrase? Sure. With grace and ease. Okay? Now look at your sentence and find your verb. What is your verb? Your verb is played. Okay? So on your diagram in your book, let's do this real quickly. Let's write the word played. Who or what played? Who or what played? Mrs. Parker. So Mrs. Parker is my subject. Okay? This is an action verb, so I need to look and see if I have a direct object. To do that, I say, Mrs. Parker played what? She played the piano. So I need to put my direct object. Hope you are doing this in your book as I'm doing it on the board. Okay? Mrs. Parker played piano. Okay? So we have the word the right in front of piano. We know, therefore, it's an adjective and it's describing the word piano. So let's go ahead and put the word the. Now, let's go back to our book. It's the only thing we have left is with, grace, and ease. What does with, grace, and ease tell us? We know it's a preposition. We know it's a prepositional phrase, and it tells us how she played. So therefore, our prepositional phrase is actually an adverb phrase. So I want you to go to the word played, draw a diagonal line, write the word with, because that's our preposition. Now we need to put on our object. Now the thing about this is, if you look at your book, she has two objects, grace and ease. All things that are compound go on a rocket. So right after you come out here, make a rocket. Put your dotted line. Your first object on the top is grace. At the bottom, it is ease. And on your dotted line is your conjunction. And I'm sure you can't read that very well on the video, but it says the word and. Okay? So, Mrs. Parker played the piano with grace and ease. With grace and ease is an adverb phrase. Look at number 4. Number 4 says, in the basement, I found old letters from my grandparents. Mark your prepositional phrases. Your prepositional phrases are, in the basement, from my grandparents. Now, you remember our subjects and verbs are not in our prepositional phrases. So, draw your baseline. What is your verb? Found. Okay, found. Who or what found? I found. So I is the subject. Found is an action verb. So I need to think what comes after it that can answer my question. I found what? I found letters. Since it tells me what it is, and I have an action verb, I know that I have a direct object. I found letters. Now, look at your sentence. It says, in the basement. In the basement tells me what? It tells me where I found them. If it answers the question where, and it talks about the verb, it's an adverb phrase. So under the word found, diagram your prepositional phrase, which is really an adverb phrase, okay? In is our preposition. Basement is our object. And then we have the word the. The is an adjective. It's always an adjective, and it describes the. It tells me which basement, the basement. Okay? Now, go back to your sentence. In the basement, I found old letters. What does old tell me about? What kind of letters? So go back to letters, draw a diagonal line, and write the word old. Now, if it tells me what kind, it's an adjective. So I need to ask myself, is it talking about a noun? It is. It's talking about a noun. So it's an adjective. Sorry about that. Look back at your sentence. In the basement, I found old letters from my grandparents. From my grandparents is a prepositional phrase. What does it talk about? Which letters? Which ones? They were letters from my grandparents, okay? So it's an adjective phrase, and it's going to say from. That's my preposition. What's my object? From my grandparents. Grandparents is the object. Okay, and the word my tells me whose grandparents. They're my grandparents. Okay, so if you have a prepositional phrase that describes a noun, it is an adjective phrase. If it is a prepositional phrase that describes a verb, an adjective, or another adverb, then it is an adverb phrase. Tonight for homework, I want you to finish the diagrams on page 171. Do 5 through 8. 5 through 8, and then take your quiz.